All right, take a look at this. This is Amarillo, Texas. It's situated in the prairie grasslands of the northern panhandle. It's a decently sized city, not huge, about 200,000 people. It's known to have extreme weather, and it's one of the meatpacking capitals of the world. But Amarillo, for some reason, is also where a court decided that medical providers across the whole United States should be allowed to discriminate against LGBTQ people. It's also where, in another nationwide injunction, a court determined that the Trump-era Remain in Mexico policy should be reinstated. And for some reason, it was in Amarillo, Texas, where a court decided that the Food and Drug Administration should revoke its authorization of mifepristone, one of the two abortion pills. So, no disrespect intended toward Amarillo, Texas, but why does this random little city keep turning up as the epicenter for nationwide decisions? Well, it's actually not random at all. Amarillo is home to the super-conservative Trump-appointed federal judge, Matthew Kacsmaryk. Every federal civil case filed in Amarillo, Texas, is automatically assigned to Matthew Kacsmaryk because he's the division's only federal judge. And with a consistent conservative track record like his, it's not all that hard to guess which way a judge like Kacsmaryk might rule. Now, a version of this practice, known as forum shopping, has been employed by both sides of the political spectrum for a long time. Whether you consider it manipulative or strategic, it's logical. Whomever controls where the case is filed is probably going to file in a place that is strategically advantageous to them. Republicans did it in the Obama era, filing a disproportionate number of cases in courts that would lead to the Fifth Circuit, which is based in New Orleans, which tends to rule conservatively. Democrats did it during the Trump era a lot, filing a disproportionate number of cases in courts that would lead to the Ninth Circuit, based in San Francisco, which tends to rule more liberally. It's not simply a Republican problem or a Democratic problem, but in the last couple of years, a disproportionate number of bills have been funneled through Trump-appointed single-judge districts, creating a more pointed version of forum shopping. Instead of directing a bill to a general region or district that the litigant hopes will boost their odds of success, a pattern has emerged of plaintiffs directing bills to small subdivisions with just one judge, which effectively ensures their desired outcome. On Thursday, the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer of New York sent a letter to the Chief Judge of the Northern District of Texas, where Amarillo is located. It reads in part, the state of Texas has sued the Biden administration at least 29 times in Texas federal district courts, but it has not filed even one of these cases in Austin, where the Texas Attorney General's office is located. Instead, Texas has always sued in divisions where case assignment procedures ensure a particular preferred judge or one of a handful of preferred judges will hear the case. That includes the Northern District's Amarillo division, where Texas has filed 7 of its cases against the federal government. Many other litigants have done the same, including the Alliance Defending Freedoms in its case challenging the FDA's approval of mifepristone. Now, the Supreme Court Justice Elena Kagan expressed her frustration with this practice in an immigration case vaguely named Texas versus the United States that was filed in a different single-judge division in the Southern District of Texas.
In Texas, there are divisions within districts. You can pick your trial court judge. You play by the rules, that's fine. But you pick your trial court judge, one judge stops a federal immigration policy in its tracks.
Now, Texas has a relatively large number of single-judge divisions, making it a hotspot for judge shopping. But it's not just a Texas problem. According to analysis by Bloomberg, Republican attorneys general have filed more than 20% of their multi-state litigations in one court in the Western District of Louisiana. One judge in that district has heard more Republican-led multi-state litigations than any other judge in the entire country. The federal government has tried to fight back. The Biden administration has moved to transfer a couple of the cases in these single-judge divisions in Texas to different venues, but its requests have been repeatedly denied. Judge shopping has been thrust into the spotlight primarily because of the mifepristone case, and now some members of Congress want to put an end to that exploitation of our court system before it gets even worse.